In 2010, WikiLeaks partnered with mainstream media organisations around the world, the New York Times, The Guardian, El País, Le Monde, Der Spiegel, and others, to publish a range of important publications. Collateral Murder, Evidence of War Crimes in Iraq. The Afghan and Iraq war logs, which demonstrated that thousands more civilians had been killed than the government had been honest about. They revealed war crimes, human rights corruption the world over with Cablegate. It was a revolution in journalism. People start talking about the right to know. Those publications won the Walkley Award for Most Outstanding Contribution to Journalism. And it's for those publications that Julian Assange has been indicted and faces 175 years in prison. The indictment against Julian Assange has implications for journalists not just in the United States, but for elsewhere around the world. This is a publisher and a journalist who is being sought for prosecution, an Australian citizen whose publishing activities took place outside of the United States. He is being prosecuted and extradited for publishing truthful information about the United States. This sets a terrible precedent, not just for journalists in the United States, because he's facing espionage charges for typical news gathering activities. But the fact that this is being asserted outside of the United States against a non-US publisher raises serious concerns about the extraterritorial precedent being set and what that might say to other governments. When we talk about protecting press freedom, we talk about protecting journalistic activity, and the indictment for Julian Assange in the United States proves why this is important. The indictment covers communications with a source, receiving information from a source, talking to a source about protecting their identity, and publishing information received from a source. This is absolutely typical news gathering activities, and if it can be the subject of a criminal indictment in Julian Assange's case, it can equally be applied to the New York Times. That's why the New York Times, the Washington Post, are concerned about this indictment and have written editorials saying that this is criminalising common journalistic practices that have been utilised for years in the public interest. Leaving that aside, Julian is absolutely a member of the MEAA and of the International Federation of Journalists. He's a card-carrying member of the union and deserves protection. And it's important that the unions continue to raise awareness about this case, not just for what it means for him, but what it means for press freedom more generally. Julian is very grateful for the ongoing support from the MEAA and the IFJ. I took his press pass in to show him in prison last time I saw him and informed him about the resolution passed at the last IFJ Congress in Tunisia, which called upon the governments not to extradite him and said that the IFJ will be raising his case at the Human Rights Council and the European Parliament. That's really important work, and we will continue to work together with the IFJ and the MEAA in every way that we can to make sure that the press freedom issues raised by his case continue to be pressed. The parallels between the Australian government raids on the ABC and the prosecution of Julian Assange in the United States are undeniable. Both cases involve media organisations receiving and publishing classified information about our government's conduct and the US government's conduct in the Afghanistan war. This is important public interest reporting that must be protected. That the Australian government has done so little, nothing, to help this Australian citizen Julian Assange in the context of the US prosecution sets a dangerous precedent. The fact that they are pursuing that precedent against the Australian media demonstrates the danger that we have been warning about since 2010 with respect to the US criminal investigation into WikiLeaks. This is a precedent that can and will be used against the media, and it's one that we must stand against, both in respect of WikiLeaks and for the ABC and other Australian journalists in that situation.